This is Tim with MyMMAopinion.com and on Twitter at MyMMAopinion. And in sports today, there aren't many firsts left, but my guest on the line actually is a first, and that's Swayze Valentine, the first professional MMA cut person. How are you, Swayze?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks for talking.
My pleasure.
So Saturday, you worked the World Series of Fighting card, and got a quick glimpse of you applying your trade during the Tyrone Spong fight after the fight. And then the first thing I saw on Twitter was, who is this? People weren't used to seeing a woman, doing that. What was the reaction you saw just from, I guess, friends and family and then on social media?
Yeah, friends and family, of course, were super excited to see me on TV. Gosh, it was a great fight. After the fight, I definitely got hit up a lot on Twitter and Facebook, a whole bunch of new requests. I didn't get any negative feedback, which is always great. It was all positive, so I was very thankful and have a lot of support out there. And I mean, they're great. I mean, I guess you can call them my fans. They're great supporters, and I'm blessed to have them. That's good to hear.
Essentially, how you got started, you pretty much have taken the same career path as a fighter. Starting out at a somewhat local gym. I guess I've heard you say 60 miles, which isn't that close. But then, worked your way up from a local gym up to, a televised promotion like World Series of Fighting. How were you bitten by the MMA bug, and is that accurate with saying that's the path you've taken?
You nailed it. It's the exact same road as a fighter. I mean, you make the same sacrifices and you work for free for a very long time, years. And, not every fight is guaranteed to move you to the next level, and you nailed it. It's the exact same journey as a fighter would take. Just different specialties. But, I first got bitten by the MMA bug in 2006. I went and saw my first live MMA show back in Anchorage, Alaska, where I had lived. And, it was, the atmosphere is just incredible. I mean, there's no other sport out there like it, and I loved it immediately, and I knew I wanted to be a part of it, but I didn't want to fight. So I contacted the promoter. I figured that'd be the best place to go after the show, and asked him, hey, what other option is there for me if I don't want to fight to work in this promotion and or production? And he says, well, if I don't want to fight, the only other option is to be a ring girl. And I initially was not interested in being a ring girl, but I figured, hey, you know what? I'll get my foot in the door, and I'm sure there's something else that I can do. So I went to my first show where I was to work as a ring girl, and I put on my string bikini, next to nothing bikini there, and when I came out of the dressing room, I saw coaches wrapping fighters' hands, and I was like, oh man, right then and there, I knew exactly that's the part that I wanted to be involved in MMA, because there's no greater honor than to wrap the hands of a fighter. And then when I found out, that the person who wraps the hands also takes care of the cuts, I fell in love immediately and knew that is exactly what I want to do.
That's awesome to hear. I mean, did it get to the point, you've called it a passion, but to really be great at something and to put in the hours, did it almost, become an obsession, in a good way?
Absolutely. It is an obsession. Passion and obsession, perfect way to put it. I mean, it's what you love to do, and you do it all the time, and so, you have this crazy obsession to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it, and you have to have that obsession because it's not easy, and there's a lot of a lot of, hills to go over and a lot of things to accomplish, and to keep that drive, it has to be an obsession for sure.
Now, let people know what being a cut person entails, because, I don't know if that people think it's a glamorous gig, but, you're working before the first fight. You're working, after the last bell rings. Let people know what a cut person entails.
Yeah. Initially, when we arrive at a venue, we have our initial opening meeting of, what's expected of us and those types of things. But we go ahead and we start wrapping the fighters' hands. And, of course, we trade off. There's several cutmen in the back at one time, so you're constantly exchanging from being cage side to coming back and taking care of fighters who will be ready to fight here within an hour. So we go back, leave cage side, and go continue to wrap fighters' hands. And then, when it's our turn to go cage side, we head it there. We set up our corner. And, from the moment the fighter walks out, we take care of them to the moment, that they leave the cage. Our focus and everything is always on the fighter and the fighter's safety. And as for the gory part, there's most likely more than none going to be damage. Anything from, of course, really, really bad cuts to, broken noses, a lot of swelling. It's very intense atmosphere you constantly, your eyes don't leave that fighter from the moment he steps in that cage to the moment he's done. It's pretty intense.
And an interesting thing, I thought about when I watched the World Series of Fighting card, and Hempelman, I was calling it on Twitter, he just looked like he was in Shark Week, and, it was a bloody mess. Do cut people want a cut to work on? Like, if you're just starting out and you've never dealt with a cut, or if you see, the other corner person has this cut, and you just, your fighter's winning, and it's been pretty eventful night. Is that something you look forward to doing?
In a barbaric way, that is what we want to fix, and not necessarily we want the fighter to get hurt, but that is what we don't look forward to a cut, but we look forward to the challenge of the cut, and we always are looking for that challenge, because obviously we're in this business for that challenge, for the, to take care of a cut or to take care of swelling. So I guess in a way we somewhat look forward to the challenge of a cut, not necessarily the fighter getting cut, but, the challenge is definitely there, and it's definitely good stuff.
Understood. Now, you've gotten, the seal of approval from pretty much, the entire cut person community, it seems, and especially right at the top with Stitch Durant. How big of an influence has he been? And I've heard, he pretty much has a signature rap. What does that exactly mean? Where fighters around the country, if they see a rap, they pretty much know it belongs to Stitch.
Well, definitely everybody has kind of their own style on how they wrap hands, and I chose to, when I was learning to wrap hands, I chose to go to the best, most well-known person for it, so I can be the best as well and be my best for the fighters. And so who better to learn from than Stitch? So, I basically just mirrored his hand wrap and learned it to a T. Others, they still like to have their own way, and you definitely can tell a difference from different styles, different people who wrap hands. So, yeah, if you see Stitch's wrap, you'll definitely see mine look identical to his. So you can. I know when I was at WSOF in Ontario last weekend, the commission came in and as I started wrapping hands, he goes, "Oh, I can tell you were trained by Stitch because that's Stitch's wrap right there." So, it always makes you feel good knowing that you're doing Stitch quality work for sure.
That's awesome. Now, who exactly chooses the cut people? Are you brought in by the promotion? Are you brought in by the commission? How does that work?
Typically, you are brought in by the promotion, but you could also be brought in by a certain fighter, and also commissions can recommend cutmen as well to promotions. But it's more traditional right now how promotions themselves are hiring their cut people.
Okay, so that leads me to my next question. If you're in the same career path as a fighter, is your ultimate goal to be in the UFC, as a cut person?
Before I got with WSOF or, really any really good big fight promotion, absolutely my goal was UFC because that was the best, the biggest. Everybody wanted UFC, and when you got there, that meant that you were the best. But I'm so blessed where I'm at right now to be as successful as I am and to work with such an amazing promotion. WSOF takes amazing care of me, of all their staff, and I'm very happy where I'm at right now. But you never know what the future holds. I might get a call from UFC, or I might not, and I'm okay with where I'm at right now. So I'm just happy to be able to be a part of these fighters' career because at the same time, every day it's I've achieved more goals and I'm doing my dreams. So it's really, I think, the fighters, and it's just been great.
Well, as long as you're happy, then, it sounds like you have the right state of mind.
Right.
How has your family been? When you first talk about, MMA and dealing with cuts and blood, and here you are, from what I saw, you're a mother of two. What did your family think of you saying, that's what I want to do? That's the career I want.
They're very supportive of me, and they've had my back from day one. Being my parents, they've had their concerns about me being an only female around such a male-dominated field, as any parent would probably have over their daughter. And also, kind of a fear for my success, meaning it's an uncertain future, as it is for fighters as well. I want to be successful for my family and my children. So, they had those concerns, because I did so much work for free, and you still do work for free. And so it's being a parent, they've had that protective thing. But now, since they know and understand the game more, now that I'm really in it, they're so happy. And, they never used to watch MMA before UFC, and now they record every show. We sit down, it's like a big old family thing. We do it together. It's great. They're totally on board now that they understand it and know more about it.
That's awesome. So were you a fan of this? You said, in 2006, you kind of caught the bug. So were you a fan and you watch cards, UFC, World Series of Fighting, whatever's on?
Yeah, I definitely was a fan. I really loved the MMA because, it was more, like, I'm not going to say street fighting, but, less protection for, there's more opportunities for blood, and to see that type of thing everybody kind of wants to see. And there just seemed to be more action, and I just loved it. And, I always watched the UFC even before 2006, but 2006 was really when I got into it, when I went to that first event, and I'm like, yeah, this is exactly where I want to be.
Yeah, that's pretty much all it takes is, go to that first event, and for a lot of people that you get bit after that. I just want to say, I think you're a great ambassador for the sport. You seem to love the sport and to have the passion for it. That's kind of what matters. And I'm glad, there's some diversity and there's a woman, in the position that you're in. And I wish you continued to.
Thank you so much. Thanks. That means a lot. I appreciate that.
No problem. Do you want to put out there where people can reach you if they want to talk to Swayze?
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody who wants to get a hold of me, they can hit me up on Twitter at Swayze Cut Girl, or you can go to Facebook, Swayze Valentine, type it in, I'll pop right up, and hit me up and say hello. That's
awesome. Now, what's the next card you're working?
Next card on the dock is WSOF 5 in Atlantic City, New Jersey, on September 14th.
That's awesome. So hopefully, do they have a contract with you? Is that a fight-by-fight basis with World Series of Fighting?
Yeah, right now we're talking things over, but right now it's fight-to-fight basis.
Good. So at least they're bringing you back, so you're doing the job they want you to do.
Absolutely, I couldn't be happier.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for the time, Swayze. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
No problem. We'll be looking forward to seeing you on the next WSOF card.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.